Hi cuties! Welcome back to my channel. I'm RubleTrillions and I'm a Twitch streamer, gamer, and artist. In today's video, I'm doing a voiceover for some footage I recorded of creating a Jessica Rabbit sim, who I will be doing a Black Widow challenge with. I've set her attributes to villainous Valentine, romantic, materialistic, and kleptomaniac. I'm going to talk through some of my clothing choices and tell you a bit about my understanding of the Black Widow challenge. I've never done a Sims challenge before. In the past when I play Sims, it's super casual and I'm typically always trying to be good and focus on family and career. So this will be a really interesting way to play and I'm really excited to show you my create a sim. So the first elements I wanted to focus on for Jessica Rabbit was obviously her iconic side swept hair. She has like a piece that kind of goes in front of her face, and this hairstyle really fit that look for her. The second part was the eyebrows, because she has really iconic thin eyebrows, and luckily there was the exact set of eyebrows that I needed. Then I went into the makeup and tried to find an eyeshadow shape that really looked like the reference photos I was looking at. Jessica Rabbit seems to have eye makeup on just her upper lid. So I was looking for eyeshadow that didn't have a whole lot on the lower lid, but also gave me the color options I needed for her look. In the photos, it looks like she sometimes has like more of a purple tint to her eyeshadow, and other times it looks like it's very like metallic and silver. So I tried to find a middle ground with those. Sometimes I leaned a little more purple and then I would kind of change my mind and play around with that a little bit more. At this point, I was like, I need to leave the eyeshadow alone and go into the nose and make the other parts of her face really look like her, because then I could see the full vision a bit better. Jessica Rabbit has like basically zero nose. In the screen grabs I was looking at, she's like noseless. I don't know how she breathes. She deserves a nose, so I gave her a nose, but I made it really tiny. I do adjust it quite a bit, like as I'm kind of going back and forth between the different elements, and ended up on a nose that feels, you know, not too stylized, but also like complements her features and her proportions pretty well to be true to the reference I was looking at. I finally settled on the eyeshadow shape that felt really right for her, and I also ended up making the eyeshadow itself go a little more silvery with a tint of purple to it, so it kind of honored both these versions of her that I was seeing quite a bit. So I'm just playing around with those hues to find the shade that it just feels like represents the best that I could with the reference photos I was looking at, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. In the lipstick, I was thinking maybe I want to go more glossy, but it wasn't quite the right color for her, and I wanted her red lipstick to be super bold and be kind of the basis on which I chose her clothing color with. Here I'm playing a little bit with proportions. Jessica Rabbit's face is pretty oval shaped. Nothing too strong as far as like bone structure and stuff. Like her features that stand out are definitely like her lips and her eyes. So I didn't have to do too much as far as like bone structure. Here I'm playing around with like the lashes and the eyeliner a bit. I was really tempted to do lower lashes because I just thought it looked really pretty on her. But then I realized it's like, oh, I think I'm trying to like make her look more kind of like sleepy and flirty, but I could do that by adjusting with details. So I ended up going in and adjusting her upper lid so it was more sleepy and more flirty and more seductive looking, and then lifting her brows as far as they would go. I went back and messed a bit with her eye proportions. Typically, like proportion wise, no matter what size the features are, you want about a width of the width of the eyes to be in the middle between the eyes. So I tried to kind of play with that. I wanted her to look proportionate and as natural as possible, even though her look in the cartoon is extremely unnatural and pretty much unattainable. I wanted her to look as much like a real person as possible while still giving her those nods to her very stylized look. I also haven't used the detail editing feature much at all. Typically when I make a sim, I'm just using the stuff on the sidebar, those options that already exist. So it was interesting also to kind of play around with what was possible as far as like manipulation goes and sculpting. So I played a lot with like the different nose widths, the nostril width, what you could do with the eyelids and all of that, as well as the lips too. I tried out some different eye shapes to see and compare kind of what I had before and see if I was like hitting the nail on the head as far as like her eyes went, and I felt pretty happy with them after I compared to some other lip styles, or other eye styles. So I ended up just Control-Zing back to like what I originally had. Her lips are really big, so I went into the detail editor to mess with those as well. And this is when I finally settled on, let's go with like that silvery, kind of a purple tint for her eyeshadow. And typically for proportions, when you look at the side profile, the bottom lip is a little further back than the top lip. So I just wanted to keep looking at that side profile and make sure I was nailing those proportions while also staying really true to her iconic features like her big lips. The curve of her lips too was something that I was unsure of. As she starts smiling here, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like a little bit of the upturned look. It's more so like when she has her lips together that she has more of that downturned, like pouty look. So just kind of went back and forth with that. Also, this blush that I ended up using, which goes along her temples, eyebrows, and cheeks, was something that I'd never used before, but I love how it just gave more color and life to her whole face. Also, I'd never found this before. It's under the face painting, and it's a little like highlight for her nose, her cupid's bow, and the inner part of her eye that I thought was just beautiful and tied the whole look together and made her look really, really glam. As you can see, I kind of go back in here and again mess with her nose width. I did want her to have like a really tiny nose, but I also wanted it to feel like part of the rest of her face, not like kind of a gimmick. Now we're getting into the accessories and the clothes. This earring set that I ended up choosing had the most natural look, I think, for her. I tried pearl earrings, but it felt like kind of funny how it was just kind of sitting up against the curve of that hair, and it felt kind of like it wasn't attached to her ear. So I ended up going with these angular dangly ones that have kind of like a diamond cut to them, but a little more length, which I really, really liked. Now we're getting into the fit. So Jessica Rabbit is known for her iconic red dress. It is hip hugging. It accentuates all of her curves. It is a strapless red dress. So I went through the options that I had, and this dress with the little brooch or whatever on the waist felt like the closest I could get with my options. Then I realized I hadn't messed with her body proportions yet, so I needed to do that. She's definitely known for having like a bigger bust than a butt, but I wanted to accentuate her small waist with bigger hips too. So I took the hips out a little more than like how she's portrayed in the cartoon, just to further add to that contrast of her hips to waist. I found some perfect gloves for her. Also, I was like conflicted a lot with the glove color, because I was seeing online some of them were like blue and some of them were more purple, some were more silver. So I kept the blue throughout pretty much this entire process, but then at the end I ended up changing them to be more of a lilac color that kind of matched her eyeshadow. Now, this is where I was really indecisive for a little bit. And I also messed this up. I like applied dark hair to all of her look, so I had to go back and fix that. But I was indecisive because I was like, I could have this iconic look for every single occasion. For her sleep, for her swimming, and that would be pretty funny. But I also thought it would be a good opportunity to be creative by trying to find outfits within these different categories that kind of matched her iconic silhouette. So I ended up keeping this for as many occasions that I could. So formal obviously made a lot of sense. Also for party it made sense. But for her sleepwear, I ended up choosing some lingerie that felt like very Jessica Rabbit. And I paired her lingerie with some black gloves too. I thought that would just be like a really cute full look. I played around with some different shoe types for her, but ended up going back to the really classic simple pumps. They also were in the most vibrant red I could find as far as shoes go, so that's what worked for her and what I had. Here I'm going through to find something in the athletic wear category that felt like her and had her classic silhouette and had parts that accentuated her curves and her chest. I had a hard time with the bottoms. As you can see, like this red is just not matching the top. So I was like, well, this could work. It has like the black bottoms. I could, it kind of matches the bra up above. And then I remembered skirts existed. So I went in there, played around with polka dots, with florals, but ended up landing on this really cute pleated skirt that matched the best it could. So there we go, the athletic look with heels, of course. I also realized I hadn't really adjusted her legs or anything yet, or like how strong or skinny she was. So I played around with those proportions too now that her legs were showing, along with like her shoulders and all of that too, and made sure it looked good in her other outfits. Here's the swimming look, which I was so tempted to leave her in her dress because I thought that'd just be really funny. But I was like, you know what, there's some cute bathing suits. Like I was so tempted to go with this one-piece one with the strapless look, but the red just was a little too deep. So I ended up finding this strapless tankini, I guess is what it's called, and played around with some different bottoms that would match. It's a little more on the pink side than the red side, but it's still bright and summery, so I felt like it worked. And then I gave her some sunglasses for this look. Then I went into her hot weather look. I was, again, tempted to keep the dress. I tried to keep the dress for most things, but I found this really cute short dress that had a little more of an orange tinge to it than a red tinge, but I felt like with her hair, this color story just really worked. And then we're into winter. Winter is where I struggled. I was not sure how to handle this because the reds were not redding enough. The glam was not glamming enough. I wish I could have like had her in her original dress and then like put like a fur or like a coat over top. And I feel like that would have like really, really sold the look. But I did end up finding some surprising options as I played around and looked. I was like, ooh, do I do a hat? Do I do like a jacket with a skirt? I really had no idea. So here is where you see me play around quite a bit with all the different options. I was really tempted with this jacket look, but it just wasn't giving enough glam, not for her. So I went back to the dress. I was like, do I just do this? I was so conflicted with the cold weather look. Then I started messing with her skin tone a bit to see, based on the reference photos I was looking at, is she a little more tan than I'm thinking she is? But she had pretty pale skin with a bit of like a golden glow to it. Sometimes it's helpful to kind of go back to something else to refresh your mind. I do it a lot with my art. And then I found this jacket, and this jacket was working. The bow belt along her waist really accentuated that part of her, even though it's high-waisted, like it was showing off her figure. And yeah, I really felt like it worked. And instead of pants, I did tights on the bottom, since this is kind of a dress. I was trying to think of like, do I go red? But the red just felt like it didn't quite go. The hearts were a really cute option, but then I found these little polka dots which felt really girly and cute. So the point of the Black Widow challenge, from my understanding, is that you're creating a sim who's going to go into the world, and their intentions are to meet rich sims, get them to fall in love with her, and marry them, and then kill those sims so she inherits their property, their money, and everything. And the goal overall is to do this 10 times before you're an elder. So it's a really, really interesting challenge. It sounded really fun, and I felt like Jessica Rabbit was just like the perfect super glam person to do this with. I could see her as someone who is materialistic and kind of like a gold digger and wanting to kind of be in this position of going for what she wants and doing it in a really like villainous kind of way. I thought it'd be very, very fun. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a series of this. The next video in this series will be a speed build of her starter home. So I hope you'll stick around, subscribe, and I'm excited to have you on this journey with me. It should be a lot of fun. And thanks for watching.